Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. My name is Lisa Curcio. This is a YouTube live event, and I'm so glad that you joined me. For those of you that are watching the replay, if you signed into your YouTube account, which is your Gmail address, you'll be able to see the live chat if you're on a desktop version or a laptop over in the right-hand side of the margin. For those of you that are joining me live, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with me. If you'd like to comment during tonight's live, you'll need to sign into your YouTube channel. Again, that's your Gmail account. That's a YouTube thing, not a Lisa thing. And I would certainly love to see you chat with us. Couple housekeeping items before we get started. Please remember that this is an unedited version. I've got lots of inspiration to share with you tonight, in addition to a beautiful fun fold. Lots of products that are going to be going into this card, but it's really easy. And I'll walk you through all the steps and give you lots of tips along the way. And I want to introduce you to Megan. Megan is my assistant. You'll see her name here in blue if you are here during the live or watching the chat replay. Megan is here to help interact with you and answer your questions because, frankly, you've come to watch me stamp, and my head will be down at the stamp table, busy doing just that. So Megan will make sure that things are not missed. I do want to assure you that I do come back and I read every single comment that is left here, as well as reply to them. So what do you say we get started on tonight's beautiful fun fold card? Give me just a second and we'll turn the camera down and get you all zoomed in. Here we go. Once again, thank you for joining me, whether you are here for the replay or for the live. I am so glad you're here. We're going to start with my trimmer because we're going to actually be doing a little bit of scoring to get the fun fold started. Now, this is the brand new Stampin' Trimmer, came out just about a month or so ago. Actually, I've lost track of time. It's gone so quickly. It comes with both blades. So the dark blade is for cutting and the light blade is for scoring. And you can see they navigate up, and this one comes all the way down out of the way. Absolutely love it. The clear arm here makes it really easy to see all the cutting dimensions, which is wonderful. So I've already cut my cardstock, and I'm going to preface tonight by telling you that there are numerous cutting and scoring directions, all easy, I promise. But if you give Megan and I a few minutes after tonight's live, I'll put them down in the video description here right on YouTube. You'll need to click the words show more to expand the text so that you can see the link where you can get over to the pictures and all the cutting dimensions. All right, I'm going to be using my scoring blade for this. And the very first score line is going to be at 2 1/8. So I'm going to just line that up here on my trimmer. There's a really nice line here up at the top that helps me line up everything nice and even. And now I'm going to move this over to 4 1/4, and then we're going to score again. Okay, that is it. Nice and simple. Let me move that up and out of the way. I'm going to bring in my bone folder now for a nice crisp edge on this. Whenever you're doing a fun fold, you want to make sure that you reinforce those crease lines so that your card folds very, very nicely and it holds up well. I'm going to move you in just a little bit. So let me zoom you in. There we go. And then this portion is going to come back on top of itself. Now, this might be a fold that you've seen before if you are already a paper crafter, but I've got a twist on it tonight that I'm really excited to share with you. Before we go any further, believe it or not, we actually have to stamp and insert the inside. So I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock here. Again, all those cutting dimensions will be shared with you in a link below when we're done. I'm using basic gray ink, and I've chose a greeting from a stamp set called Peaceful Moments. Let me grab it here so I can show it to you. I am really loving this. I love the mixed fonts, and I love the huge array of different greetings for both the outside and the inside of your cards. This is in the brand new Stampin' Up! Mini catalog, and I want to show you this beauty. Oh my gosh. As a matter of fact, everything I'm using tonight comes from this. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you would like a complimentary copy of this new mini catalog as well as the annual catalog, all you have to do is head over to lisasstampstudio.com and click on Contact Me, and I'll be happy to provide you with that. I'm going to even throw in the sale brochure. The products in here are absolutely free with every $50 order from now through the end of March. Okay, so let's see if I can get this straight because my head is kind of far away because of the camera. There we go. Yep. Okay, pretty good. All right, I'm just putting that off of my Stampin' Scrub. I'm going to put that to the side. And then I'm going to adhere this to the inside of the card. That's going to be a very important step before we go any further. And I'll show you why in just a second. I'm using my snail adhesive generously in those four corners. And then I'm going to attach that here to the inside of the card. I'm looking to keep an equal margin of space all the way around. And then once it looks pretty good, we'll tack that in place. I want to create a hole because I'm eventually going to pull on this. I should say I'm eventually going to put a pull on here. That's a tongue twister. You're going to want to open it up so that it's actually just a single fold, with this being the crease. I'm using the detailed trio punch. You can see it does three things in one. I absolutely love this punch. Anything that does more than one job really is a great selling tool as far as I'm concerned, because it's three punches in one. You've got a corner rounder, you've got a beautiful decorative punch here, and this is going to create the most perfect ribbon hole. It even works great for tags. You're going to notice too that there's little gauges and three positions on this punch, which will help you align the cardstock nice and even. I recommend that you leave it on your work surface flat because it's easier to press with the palm of your hand that way. Okay, this is the crease. I'm turning that and I'm going to tuck that down inside. Now I'm going to turn it this way horizontally. I don't do too many things straight, so I've got a better eye going this way than I do up and down. So that's a great tip for those of you that don't find that you can do things straight either. Turn it horizontally. It tends to be a lot easier for our visual aspect. And I'm looking to see, oh, is that about even? And I'm just going to make sure it's tucked all the way back to those lines, and then I'm going to press. There we go. Now, keep in mind, you're going through two layers of cardstock, which we normally don't do with a punch, but we're only punching just a tiny bit here. And you're going to see why we had to attach the inside of the card first. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to decorate this strip right here, just kind of pretty it up a little bit. And I've got some designer series paper. This paper is absolutely beautiful. That's in that mini catalog I just shared with you. This is from the Parisian suite. They all have a beautiful vintage and Paris feel to them. Look at that. I don't know if you guys can see that shimmer. Isn't that beautiful? Double-sided papers. They are specialty, which they have some foil aspect to it. For this card, I'm going to use this side. So I'm going to flip this upside down. I'm going to be using my silicone craft sheet here for me to apply my adhesive. Now, I absolutely love this little accessory because liquid glue, hot glue, and adhesive will not stick to it, which means I'm going to keep my work surface nice and clean. Again, I'm going to be working in a horizontal manner, and I'm going to attach that here, again, leaving a small border all the way around. Again, horizontal makes it a lot easier for me to get it nice and straight. So far, so good. Let's go ahead and let's work on some decorating for the front of this card, and then I'll show you how the entire mechanics of this works for this fun fold. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. And I've got a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock here. Now, whenever I say thick Whisper White cardstock, it should be a good indication to you that I'm going to be using alcohol-based Stampin' Blends markers. I love them because of their flawless coverage. Now, I'm going to be using this beautiful trellised floral image. Isn't this pretty? This comes from a different stamp set than the one I just shared with you with the greetings. This one's called Forever Blossoms. And the reason I love this is not only because of the beautiful image here, and of course these accessories and the greetings, but guess what? It has coordinating cherry blossom dies. Look at this. Now I've pulled one out because we're going to use it, but really, really abundant. And here's something I want to point out to you. Do you see the duplicates here? I love this. This was a great thing that was included because I don't know about you, how often do you just put one blossom on anything that you stamp or die cut, right? So this is going to allow you to do double duty with this die set. So you can die cut two of the same images at the exact same time. Love that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ink this up, and you're going to see I'm going to turn this face up on my work surface because you see how big this is? It's not going to fit. So I want to make sure I don't miss a spot. So I'm going to actually take my ink pad to the stamp versus the other way we would typically do it. Again, I'm going to go horizontal and I'm going to press. Now, I have a lot of arthritis in my hands. I know some of you have told me you do too. So I just like to take my time and make sure I trace out the image well so that we get a beautiful result when we're all finished. The worst thing you can do is like slam your image down on the cardstock and then hope for a really good impression. Take your time. I'm going to close that up. And then I'm going to bring in the alcohol-based blends markers. Now, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I've got one that's already finished for you. I'm going to do just one petal, one area, so that you guys can get an idea of how these work. Let me move you in so you get a little bit better view. And then I'm going to walk you through the other color that I used here as well. These are are petal paint, and you can buy them in a combination. So there's a light and a dark. You're also going to notice that the tips are double-ended. So there's a thicker tip here and a thinner tip here. That's really a matter of preference, depending on, of course, the size of the image you're coloring in. This is pretty small, so you might find the chisel tip works better for you. I'm just going to speed things up tonight because you're all here with me live. So I'm going to use the thicker end. Love that the caps lock on and off. And you're just going to color in your flower. Now, this isn't rocket science, super easy. If you've ever colored as a kid or you still love to color as an adult, it's absolutely no different with these alcohol markers. The great thing about them, though, is they are going to be flawless, which means unlike a dye-based marker where you'll have like those scribble lines, if you repeat an area, it won't do that. Because the alcohol will need to evaporate, give it a few seconds. Once it's done, the secret to getting that contour or that professional blended look is to come in with the darker shade. So again, I'll use that thicker tip. This time I'm going to concentrate here in the center of my flower just to give it some depth. And do you see those little sketch lines here that the artist put inside the flower petals itself? Those are my cheat lines. I love those because I'm able to actually go right over those and add those as intensity for this flower. Now, with a very, very light shade of blends markers like these, you're going to find as it evaporates that it may not need as much blending again when you're done. But I want to share something with you that's very important because if you're working on a wide range of spectrum of colors, the darker you go, the more important it is that you know this final tip. You need to go back to the lightest shade to blend the dark and the light together. Otherwise, you're going to have very definitive lines between where one starts and one stops. So I'm going to open up my my thick end here again, and I'm just going to bring these two colors together. So I'm dragging the dark back into the light. And just like I said before, you're going to need to give it time to evaporate. Now I did that for the petals and the buds, and then I used this beautiful soft sea foam for the greens, for the leaves, all right? Like I said, I've got one already finished for you. Let me set those markers aside and let me bring in the one that's already done. That die cut did all the work for me. So I just lined it up when it was stamped, and look at, isn't that lovely? Gotta love that. You don't have to do any of that work. Very, very pretty, really elegant, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to move you out a little bit now because we're going to do a little bit more die cutting and then we're going to start doing some assembly. Stay with me to the end of the video because I have 4 other samples using this exact same bundle of products to share with you. The next thing I've got is a beautiful piece of champagne foil paper. Now, I know there's probably a horrible glare because of the studio lights, but that's the beauty of foil when it's all done. Now, from the stamp set that actually partners or pairs beautifully with that Forever Blossoms is this one. It's called Parisian Beauty. Look at that Eiffel Tower, that beautiful French script, and some beautiful accessory pieces inside of here. This is also offered as a bundle with dies as well, and you're going to see those here. Now, I've pulled out one because I'm going to use that one separately. Now, the one thing I love about this, there's a detail die. So if you don't want to do any work, you don't have to. You just die cut a gorgeous Eiffel Tower. Or guess what? There's one here that you can stamp, and then there's a silhouette to die cut that image. And of course, there's some greetings in here and some beautiful flourishes. Really a gorgeous bundle of product. So I'm going to lay this on top of here, and then I'm going to die cut it. Now, I want to give you an important tip about die cutting on foil. If you're anything like most paper crafters, you like to optimize your paper, which means you like to save all the scrap that's right here to possibly die cut something else or even use with a punch. But if your cutting plates for your die cutting machine look like mine, you see how etched they are? You may notice how this gets transferred to this. So I want to give you an important tip. Take a piece of regular plain clean copy paper, lay it over the top of the die and the foil to protect it. And then when you create your clear matte sandwich, before you put it through your die cutting machine, it's going to transfer these marks to the paper, not to the foil. So you're going to be able to optimize all those scraps. It's just a fabulous tip for you and a great way to use up those scraps. Now, I did do that before you joined me, and I do have to tell you, it die cut lickety split easy. Stampin' Up's foil paper is beautiful. It no longer has a rough backing on it. I literally passed this through one time, ran my die brush attachment to it, and it came out just like this. Isn't that gorgeous? All right, so let me show you the mechanics of how I'm putting this floral image and my tower together. You might be thinking, wow, that's really big, but it's really awesome when it comes together. So I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet once again, and I'm going to bring over some dimensionals because we're going to do a little bit of piecing of those pieces together. All right, I've got a panel here of Whisper White cardstock, and I have a layer of smoky slate. Now you might be thinking, smoky slate, that seems kind of odd. Well, you know what? Here's another tip for you. If you're working with a very simple color palette, like I have here with the petal pink, because that's the color of the base of the card, and that champagne foil with a little bit of that designer series paper, I absolutely love the fact that I can bring in a very simple neutral. So in this case, it's the soft, the smoky slate, to add a layer to my card that doesn't take away from the overall softness or the appearance. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put those two layers together. So let me put my adhesive here on the back side. And then I'm going to attach this to this. And this is going to have a very narrow border. This is only 1/8 of an inch. And then we'll attach those together. So now my pieces are going to go on here. Okay, I fussed and fussed with this because I wanted these to go together. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got a great idea. Okay, let's start with this piece. Turn this over, and I'm going to pull off 3 full-size dimensionals. These are double-sided pieces of foam tape. I'm placing them behind the big blossoms to start. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off those paper backings with my paper piercing tool attachment on my Take Your Pick tool. I can't live without this thing. I love it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of ready that. This, watch, is going to go down inside the flower here to kind of connect these. That's going to allow me to manipulate this so that it will fit on here. All right. Now, once I've got this kind of adhered in place, I am going to do a little card surgery, is what I call it, right here to keep these two attached. So I'm bringing in a glue dot, and I'm going to use that same attachment. I'm going to pick up one of those glue dots. I'm going to kind of make it ugly because it just needs to be small. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here on my die. Do you see where it's not going to show? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of meander this so that's going to fit. But I want to make sure it's going to fit before I stick it. Because if you've ever worked with glue dots before, you know they're really, really sticky and they stick well. All right, so now they're stuck together. That's great. So let's go ahead and let's finish this. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to add a couple mini dimensionals. Now you may look at this and think, wow, those are really, really tiny, and they are. So I want to give you a couple tips about the mini dimensionals. I have them here, and I took my scissors and I actually cut them in half again to make them even smaller. Now, this is where the Take Your Pick tool with the paper piercing tool attachment is a godsend, because look, you don't have to wrestle them with your fingers. I'm going to put one right here at the top, and I'm going to take another one. I know it's probably just off camera, so bear with me. I'm going to put that one here, and do you see here? I'm going to take another one. Let me get it stuck here. There we go. And then I'm going to attach that one here. Now, if you're one of those people that are really persnickety and you want to put them down here, you absolutely can. But when we're all finished, this is going to stick really, really well. You don't have to worry about covering every inch of this. I'm going to take off those paper backings once again. I love that these kind of wrangle them too. These smaller pieces, you just got to take your time getting them off. And then I've got one more down here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up. I'm going to move that off to the side. Here is our panel. This now I'm going to center my Eiffel Tower. I don't mind that my flowers are going to be off to the side. That's totally okay. And because we have it anchored, it's not going to move. Now I want to show you something important. Do you notice how I didn't put any dimensionals here? Really important for when this fun fold is finished. All right, so this is well anchored. Now, if you want to, you could do a little more card surgery and you can tuck a couple dimensionals behind here. And I know someone's going to ask me, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to show you how. So I'm going to use my mini dimensionals so I don't have to worry about it showing. I'm going to remove the paper backing right here on the sheet just to make it easier for me. Well, that figures, it's stuck. Has that ever happened to you guys too? All right, let's just get a new one because it never happens when you're not watching me, right? So let me take off that backing. There we go. I've got it now, and I'm going to use my tool, and then I'm going to come up underneath that leaf just to tack that down, or underneath the petal, wherever you want. You just want to make sure it's not going to show, and that'll keep that from flopping. And I prefer to do that, to be honest with you, because whoever receives it's going to take it in and out of the envelope. Oftentimes, when we try to put too many dimensionals or glue dots on before we adhere it, we find it's challenging that some of them are going to show. So tack it down first and then perform a little bit of card surgery to get it where you need it. All right, I've got one more thing I decided to add to the front of this, and that is a greeting. And I didn't even dare try to stamp this with you guys all watching because I'm old and my head has to be close to the table these days. But I stamped, "You're the joy of my life." And that actually comes from the exact same Parisian Beauty stamp set. Love, love, love this. Now, there's going to be an elevation difference here between here and here, because remember, this is up on dimensionals. So we're going to have to compensate for that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet once again. On this side, we're going to add adhesive. I want to make sure I double check that and make sure I get it right. Yep. On this side, we're going to add adhesive. On this side here, we are going to add a mini dimensional. So I've got one of those here, and then I'm going to take off that paper backing, and then I'm going to attach this here. I'm going to use this area of my Eiffel Tower as an area for me to put that adhesive so that my dimensional will fall just outside of that here, a little offset for some visual interest. Isn't this gorgeous? Okay, let's put the rest of this card together. Let me get those pieces. All right, we've got this. Okay, next important step is going to be some ribbon. So I've got my ribbon here. This is petal pink. It has a metallic edge. It is gorgeous. It's satin, double-sided. You don't even have to worry about tying it incorrectly. All right, so let me show you how this is going to go together. We are going to start from the back. Okay, this is the back. Remember, this is the crease. Here's that panel. We're going to slide this through the hole. So we want to make sure that this is nice and straight for the back. Okay, you may have seen this card made before where this was actually adhered. We're not going to do that because I want an extended panel. So this is going to stay loose. You're going to need to make sure that you use an ample enough of ribbon, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. So I'm going to kind of even up my raw ends here all the way down on this side. That looks pretty good. All right, and I'm going to keep that here. This now is going to get adhered here. Important. You're only going to put adhesive or dimensionals on this portion because if you don't, it's going to fall on the inside of the card. So let me give you a tip about adhering those. I'm going to grab my full-size dimensionals once again. So I'm going to pull up 3. I've got 1, 2, and then 3. I want 2 more. So I've got 2 more here. I'm going to add them off center of these 2 here. You don't want to extend past the halfway mark because you don't want it to show. Got my paper piercing tool attachment again on that take your pick tool. Going to pull those up. Don't you love how this wrangles that mess? Love that. Okay. I'm going to set that off to the side. Okay, we've got our ribbons here. Do you see that? Making sure that it's in the middle, the very best that I can. This now is going to get adhered here. So I'm looking to make sure that everything is perfectly aligned the best I can, making sure that this is not outside the edge of the card. Otherwise, it's not going to go inside or outside the envelope. And I'm going to tack that in place. Now look, perfect, huh? Okay, I added one more thing, and I want to share these with you just because I absolutely fell in love with them. I have this adorable tassel. Now, they come in a package with numerous colors, and I love that because they coordinate beautifully with a lot of the things in that mini catalog I just shared with you. But I loved that for that vintage kind of look. So I'll show you what I did, and I'm going to show you how this card expands once I get it tied up. So this is just going to slip on here. And I know one of you is going to say, well, that's going to fall off when you untie it. Well, that's okay. You can make a slip knot if you want. I don't know about you, but I often send my cards to card makers or crafters. And do you know what they do? They kind of take that and reuse it for something else. And I love that they repurpose my cards. That really makes me happy. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make a bow. I'm going to pull it very tightly because if you pull the bow tightly, you can then pinch or hold the knot here and then pull your raw end to adjust those loops without losing all your tension. And by making your ribbon long enough, I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's just give this a small haircut here really quick, just so it's not too unruly. We've got this finished card. Is this not gorgeous? Okay, but let me show you how it expands. I made another one right before you joined me, okay? I untied it, but I want to show you this, okay? So I've untied it. Watch. It's going to slide and expand all the way over, which means this panel opens, which is why it's important you have enough ribbon to start with before you tie it. Because if you cut these too short and they untie it and try to expand it, this is going to fall through the holes and behind your image. So this image actually railroads or corrals that ribbon here in place. Isn't this beautiful? Oh my gosh, I'm absolutely in love with this suite of products. Now I've got 4 other cards to share with you using this exact same Parisian Beauty suite. So let me pull those out. Let me set those aside for just a minute. These 4 cards that I'm going to share with you, I'm actually going to share them with you in pairs, okay? Because they're part of my card kit that I'm offering this month. Now, I offer a free card kit in exchange for any $50 product order of your choice. I'm going to provide the free pre-cut supplies, the foil, the designer series paper. You're also going to receive a PDF tutorial with multiple pictures of each card. I'm going to include the doily and the foil and the cardstock here. You're also going to get a video to stamp with me from home. So for a total of 8 cards. So again, you're going to be making all of these with me from home. And here's the last 2. So I've designed all the cardstocks. I've designed all the cards. I've cut all the cardstock, all the designer series paper. I package it up all really pretty, and I send it in the mail to you as a card kit. Now let me turn the camera around and give you a couple more pieces of information about these cards. If you're interested in the card kit, I have an exclusive card making kit host code that you would have to use when you place your card making kit order. It's the only way that I know you're entitled to the free pre-cut supplies. Megan's going to go ahead and share that host code here in the chat off to the side. But there's also going to be a link down in the video description below. Remember to click show more so you can get those details. So you'll get the video, the PDF tutorial. You'll get the free pre-cut supplies to make these 8 cards. Now, if you want your cards to look exactly like mine, you're obviously going to need the Parisian Beauty stamp set and the coordinating dies. But I also have a complete list of all the products that I've used because you'll probably want the ribbon or maybe some of the rhinestones or some ink pads, or you can use what you have at home. I make ordering really, really easy so that you can order what you want and still be entitled to the free pre-cut supplies. Now, there are 2 really important things about this month's card kit. The first is because it's Stampin' Up's largest sale of the year called Celebration. You'll remember I shared this with you. Since your order has to be $50 in product or more to receive the free card kit, you're going to get something from this brochure absolutely free. Now, this brochure is over on my website at lisasstampstudio.com. All you have to do is click on shop and you'll be able to navigate over and see the options that are there. In addition, you're going to receive a private invitation to an event I call Live with Lisa. It is in a closed YouTube channel where I do numerous live demonstrations. I give away a huge 8 bundled tutorials, and I do product prize giveaways. It's just a bonus and a way of saying thank you for your card making kit purchase. I also give Live with Lisa away for those that wish to order $25 or more in product using the current host code. That information's all over on my website. So that's a little bit about this month's card making kit. And of course, and this one's untied, our really pretty expanding panel fun fold card tonight. Isn't this product set beautiful? Absolutely gorgeous. Now, a couple things before we go. I want to make sure that you know I would be happy to send you catalogs. Head over to lisastampstudio.com and click on Contact Me. Sign up for my newsletter while you're there. I share a tutorial not shared on my other platforms. I'd love to give that to you. It's a no frills email. If you have enjoyed tonight's video, please give it a thumbs up here on YouTube, which is a like. It certainly helps. Comment, share the video with your crafting friends. Referring them is the highest compliment you can pay me. I am going to be back with you live. Are you ready? I'm looking at my calendar to get the date right. Monday, January 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I would love for you to mark your calendar so that you can come back and join me then. Thank you, Megan, for all your hard work and interaction tonight. I am so glad that you've joined me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.